My name is Rafa Prada. I'm a designer. I do a bit of code. I don't know if I can say those things here, but yeah, I try. I know how Git works, more or less. Not really, but well, just try to do my best. And yeah, at the moment I work at Nala, which is a branding studio in Hoxton.
No, it wasn't at Nala. That's so surprised.
But I'm also working mostly with creatives. So I'm doing mostly art projects with other creatives, from books to websites, installations, and other kind of things. And that's actually what I'm trying to talk about today. UX is not a tech term, and it's not a tech term with everything that you could go in your heads. It's just basically trying to think UX as a user experience, but also as users mostly, and not that much of what tech could be around that. I knew that this is not gonna work. Anyway, so bad. Just one slide, and I'm gonna keep an eye. I hate iPhones. I'm an Android guy. Anyways, so we're gonna be talking about physical stuff. And how many of you just got this book? You read, you saw a movie, you saw Fight Club, you get the book because you heard that the book is really nice, it's even better than the movie, but then you just see Brad Pitt all the time in your head. It's just, you can't stop it. You're reading the book and you see Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, this is really crap. And that is, to me, a really, really bad decision that could be avoided if we're going, into the right direction. But now, before everything starts, I just wanna touch point on my experience with Euclidean and non-Euclidean geometrics. I'm not going to talk about them because obviously I don't know anything about those. I studied arts. Arts is like a big thing. I just know like a little bit of distance and shapes and stuff, but not very much of that. But one of the things that that really kind of make a mark on me was talking about Euclidean and non-Euclidean, because we could see this in 3 dimensions, and just talking about space and very linear stuff, which they call, and I've got it written somewhere here, parallel postulate, which is always very straight, you've got the parallels and all the stuff. But then you can move to the non-Euclidean one, which is, amongst others, the hyperbolic ones that actually, if you expand your focus, you will see that some stuff bend and flex, and it's not everything how it looks like from the beginning, because you can go a bit outside and then see the bigger picture. Just bear with me, this is nothing to do with the talk, it's just an idea that have to be floating there. I want that to be floating there all the time, just by my experience. I'm gonna be talking about myself, because one of the reasons why I'm talking about UX is, as a non-term, is because I personally found myself on a trouble when I'm talking about what I do. I'm a designer, which is specialized in publications and products. And then sometimes it's always, I don't get that many jobs because I'm specialized in publications and products, which you either like publications or like products, which is really complicated, and I'm just trying to bridge that gap with this talk particularly. Oh, sorry, back. This is me in 2000, that's me, that one on the side, in 2000 and less, 4? Yeah, I think that we're older than we think we are, but it's fine. And it's around 2004, 5, where I was at the university. I was doing arts, and we have this group that we would call Salon Flags. Oh, sorry, not Salon Flags. Rojo Bosar was my first publication. So I was doing painting in a very traditional school, a lot of drawing, 3 hours of drawing per day, 3 times a week was a lot of drawing in there. And then we started to do publications, and then from publications we jumped into going into stage, and then all these publications that was poetry based needed to be translated into on stage. And then we didn't really know how to do these things, so we were really lucky to have the opportunity to do that time to time experiment on the plays, because that was a publication and it's pixelated on purpose. Obviously you cannot take a copy it with a heart and then go somewhere else and then put it on the stage, because then just basically just doing the same thing from one place to another. I'm talking about translating. I'm talking about how can we move from an experience, an idea, something that you wanted to communicate from one platform to another, or to a different place. And that's what I'm trying to do here as well. With Rojo Bosar came my first Dice Still Life, so talking about the old times as well. This blogspot that was acquired by Google at some point, and it's still live, and it's great because I'm doing all these micro blogs connecting to each other with different URLs because they're actually different blogs, and then just linking in between all of them. So then you will get all these use of cookies all the time. It's really annoying. You get it, go to the next page, and you've got that again, and you've got that again. It's really frustrating. But there we go. So that's the first picture. I'm going to try to describe myself in 7 pictures. Second one is when I got to London, I started to work with publications a bit more serious. We worked at Highgate Estate in Elephant and Castle. We did a big adventure there because we got new to London, and we were, basically we didn't know much English. We were here, we started to go around the city. And then Elephant and Castle was a very Pinterest space for us. Obviously it was really dangerous, still not that dangerous anymore, but it was really dodgy at some point. And for us, it was just a place that we got when we got to London. So it's just, there's no background. So there's no the idea there of, some people say, like being that not have any bias, and we will talk about that in a minute, but I like to call it amateur. So being amateur all the time. So you could be amateur in order to get the right experience in the right plane, in the right time. Third picture is me with Highgate again, but Highgate this time was 5 years after the publication. By the way, we've got a few copies here. I've got a lot of books, so maybe if I take, make it the talk too fast, we can just, look the books because they're nice. So it's just good stuff. I've got some copies there. What we did here was, again, try to translate ideas because we couldn't travel. So we have big plans for the publication. We wanted to go here, we wanted to do a different experience based on the Highgate one that we did previously. It never happened, so we started to work with this idea again of translating and trying to use the image and our vision to basically convey ideas in a way that could make no sense. This is a real, which one is the real one, which is the copy one. We're just interested in those questions. How can we play along those things? Fourth one, again in London again, is Salon Flags. With Salon Flags, we started to do with a group of people, again, try to translate the stuff. So we are 2D artists that have similar ideas, and we just wanted to express that with different disciplines. So some people were a bit more parting, they did visuals. Some people were a bit more publications. Some others did karaokes. This is a glitch karaoke. It was amazing. It's 2 guys from Goldsmiths that did this karaoke where people was in different locations, and you've got basically to sing the song that you're listening through your computer with back connection to the other place. It was an amazing experience. And we're just trying to kind of push ideas with locations and space and blah, blah, blah. More Salon Flags, books. We did books. We wanted to talk about choreography. We wanted to talk about ideas. We wanted to talk about how can we get all these experiences that we have into a book. But we always try, and this is going to the 6th one, try to get these books in place somehow with the idea of not thinking the books as a medium per se, but as an object itself. So we're trying to get from using publication as a medium to express something to make the actual medium being something. And it's a bit abstract ideas, but I hope that at the end of the talk we've got like a cloud of ideas that we can work with. 7th one, moving from publications to a bit more digital based, still working with artists and trying to get ideas a bit way more simpler in this case about how can we get basically scenographers and stage designers to have a website or a platform where they could be seen as stage designers from scratch. So again, we're just talking about ideas of how can we translate scenario, like stage ideas into visuals and UIs and all of that. Because I'm gonna go into my cards. Because the thing is, we're not really designing for publication and we're not really designing for a screen. And one of the things that really touched me once, when we were walking into this .gov, you all know about the Gov stuff, and the government digital services, we're not designing for a screen, we're designing for people. When I got to digital, I've obviously faced the idea of UX design and started to read about all the principles of UX design, but I saw that how come, that somehow all those principles could relate to anything that we do. It could be from a book, to our phones, to our shoes, to our chairs, to everything that we can do, can go into those principles, because actually we are designing for people and that people need to get those things. A bit more about me. I was working at the University of the Arts for a few years, and I haven't worked in this page. Lacey, she's been the kind of part of the ethos of the whole idea of this website, but I believe that it covers a lot of UX ideas that we will kind of feel that are what we understand about UX. So we can talk about simplicity. We've got a website that is quite simple. You've got a search bar here, and then you get into the information, and we move forward. It's contextual because we've got, it's an art school, so we've got an artist. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's good to go to the basics and try to get what we're trying to do. It's human. Sadly, the easiest way that university gets that is just putting a person in there, so they think it's human, and off it goes. There's a person in there. It's easy to understand because it's really easy to navigate and get to the point that you want to get. Something that is not bias, and this is really important. And I want to talk a little bit about this because we, again, going back to the idea of amateur, and I'm going to be jumping in between ideas all the time. So bear with me if you don't really get what I'm talking about. We will discuss about that later. When I'm talking about bias, I'm talking about how can we approach projects or ideas or any sort of outcome that we're doing in a way that we amateur all the time, that we don't have any bias. We don't really relied on our experiences to create an experience to the rest of the people. So one of the problems that we have with the university at the beginning was that from one side, we were designing for students, and obviously we had this conversation many times. The university website is not for students, it's for parents. So the parents are the ones that are actually going to that website and are actually trying to get information to get their students to study abroad or go somewhere else. So those are hints that give you an idea of how can you create a more a genuine experience in a way in products and any kind of things. And then the last one is a bit about being consistent, and that is when I've jumped into university. When I joined the University of the Arts, they were doing the redesign, and they had a new logo, super nice one, pentagram, the logo. They give us a logo, we pay a lot of money for that logo, and that's it. That's basically what they did. They give us a logo. The logo is the UAL, top left. That's it. We don't have anything else. So yeah, great. So we have to get into the whole idea of how can we put this into digital world. We've got the front end, we've got the back, we've got the back and the intranet. And then we discover that we actually have about 30 to 50 different applications in the university, which is amazing, right? How can we make that somehow consistent? There's no way of making this consistent, trying to just bring everything down to the basics and then work from there. So very, just touching a little bit base, we've got 3 of those applications that we were using in here, Library, WordPress, and Terminal 4. You will believe how close they're working between each other. You go from one platform to the other when you are kind of getting any services from the university, and it's crazy. The only way that we could manage is just try to work with the navigation in a way that we're not compromising ourselves. So it was a very interesting experience because we couldn't give everything that everyone wanted at the start, but we need to balance out consistency across in order to have a good experience. Because otherwise you get to things like that. It might not look that bad, but honestly, there's a big, huge gap in between these things. And it's okay when we see that next to each other, but when you're flicking and you're going to one page to another page and going back to the same page, it's just the little mouse that you have to move because you're navigating is just crazy and makes you crazy. Again, this is go back to the idea of the bias. We're talking about different teams, talking about different people working in different projects with their own experiences and not actually thinking about what is happening and how is so it's going around. I'm gonna grab this sentence from Steve Gates that I think that he's not like he could come across a bit pedantic as well, but I think that I've got really strong ideas in terms of design and how can, talk about design thinking and all those things. And he said obviously that the more you know about something, the more biased we become. And I think that that's a really big truth. And in a way that cut us our creativity in a way, obviously we will learn things and we will experience and we'll give a value to a business by being experienced designers or being experienced developers, but we shouldn't be kind of just relying on, I know how these people are because I am that person as well. So it's quite important to go around those things. And I want to bring one example. I was hoping that someone's going to come, didn't come at the end, but it's great because then I could talk about this project a bit more openly. And it's Google Creative Labs did this application when the refugee crisis happens in like a few years ago. And I'm really impressed, not for the project itself or because it's Google and they do great things and they go around. It's because of how they actually use empathy as a principle here again to build something from scratch. So you will have, they will use mainly observation and then being immersed with the people. They got to the crisis, whoever was in the team, and they realized that the two things that they have when they were coming with the big boats was a telephone and a bag with 2 or 3, pairs of clothes. There's not much in there, right? So they have to do something to go around those things. And then they developed this website where it was really easy for the charities to maintain because they were using Google Docs, and that was really easy for the users to consume because, it was in black and white, low consume, in terms of battery, they're very low consume. So all those things were done in a really nice way in 36 hours. So, it's a really good example of how you could just by stepping back, looking at the things, analyzing, and then balancing out could help in your favor and in your products. And I'm gonna do a really quick reality quiz now. I'm gonna ask you anything, but I'm just gonna go through this thing on my own. I don't know how long we have. I'm not counting the time, but about 15, 20 minutes, maybe less.
We've got 15.
Cool. So it's just basically a right or wrong question here. We've got these two questions, and what I'm trying to get now here is how do we actually not even do the product itself, or how do we talk about the products that we are doing, or how do we talk about the experience that we are selling or we are putting into the world. The truth is, we've got a really nice, sleek image of our phone here. It's nice, we've got Arabic letter in it because it looks better. It's really nice, and we've got that image next to them, which is not really appealing. It's just not really, it's not designed. It's not a really good image. Now, I would say that obviously that is the right one because we are talking about a particular situation and we're working to get something done in a nice way. And the reason why I'm picking out also this one is because sometimes you don't need to talk about a product or a project by giving an image only of what you've been doing. In this case, these guys did a little video that I'm going to put very quickly. It's about 3 minutes. Maybe I can cut like halfway, but we can go through this, and there's no sound in it.
We're living during one of the largest humanitarian crises in the world. Being able to affect as many people as we have here, that's just powerful. I was part of the emergency unit that the ARC sent to Greece to assess and provide life-saving support to refugees. This is 30 days worth of arrivals on this gigantic mound. Can you imagine 8 months?
Right, enough. I think we don't need to talk, to see them anymore. I think it's really interesting, that project. You can look into that later, but it's not my project, so I don't want to kind of keep much attention to this. The thing is, with very little, they were able to talk about an app that they were doing in a completely different way and then send the message across nicely, exactly how they needed to be sent. There's just really nice things that you just need to kind of, again, step back, really think about what you want to do and then move from there. Here again, we've got a couple of ways that agencies will talk about the products. So we've got one on the left, give you a really nice low gravity books where we're talking about, the cover of the books, and then we've got the other one on the right. You know, what we're looking at here, you know, that's bullshit. You know, what no one consumes that. You know, so that we have to bear in mind, and I'm a bit like concerned in the way that we're going into showing images is that no one reads a book that way. No one reads, you know, throwing the book in the air. No one reads that way. They might read it this way. We have to be careful because sometimes blogging, you know, social media and all the stuff is the actual way of promoting something. So, you know, just kind of by making real things is how we actually have to promote things. But there are many other ways where we should approach, you know, like first image that I showed at the beginning, have the little book in the side, in the middle, really nicely designed. That's not how you consume a book. You know, you consume a book, you know, you have to think about a fireplace. You think about your fireplace, where you're sitting there, and then you know, how will you get into those things? So those are what I'm really interested in. I was talking about social media and people and you know, bloggers. I saw this talk like a few months ago now from Mark Ritson, Beyond Digital Marketing in 2016, and he said that basically social media is a social media. So we shouldn't be talking about how can we raise awareness of the brand on social media, because social media is social media. It's, you know, to, you know, have people around there and that talk about things that is related to people. And when I'm thinking about this, I've always paraphrased them. And again, I'm not talking much about tech now, but when I think tech in a way that tech is tech, and tech is not a book, and tech is not a sandwich. You know, tech is tech, and we have to do things that are tech for the tech world. And I'm really like what you said, guys, before about, you know, like, you know, opening the, you know, the vision and then going a bit bigger. Is because we just need to go to the right place. I've always feel that sorry for bringing that now to you guys, but I don't think we're gonna get anywhere with tech because there's something that is not natural for us. And we can recreate things into tech, but I don't think that we could create things that we cannot think about them. It's a bit of a weird thing. So I'm maybe putting the things in the right place could go, but tech is tech, and sorry for bringing that up now. Another reality quiz about branding. So these guys are, let me get the name. These guys are Action Against Hunger, and they did the branding for them, and they've got those two pictures on the website about the branding that they did for Action, about, you know, Action Against Hunger. Got 2 cupcakes for Action Against Hunger with the branding on top of it. Do you know how serious this thing is? You know, it's like we cannot put in this mock-up here, and then we've got a jib, which is real, and we put that image, you know, that logo on top of the jib because, right, that's how we want the people to see our branding, you know, in a jib or in a cupcake. This is wrong. Both of them are wrong, really, really wrong. And I'm really upset with those things. I'm really upset about these images. You know, we have to stop this now. You know, we cannot use any stock image anymore. You know, stop that thing. We can't. These people are laughing.
They've got lovely teeth, though, don't they?
Yeah, they're amazing. You know, well, maybe you're selling something about, you know, like dental paste or something like that. Maybe that could be an idea.
Get out the photographing of the teeth. It's not that great.
Well, you know, I mean, it's also low quality. I just panicked because I didn't gonna pay for that one. But you know, that is the thing. You know, when are we gonna be using this image? Is that when we talk about our apps, we're gonna talk about our apps and we're gonna put an image of a few people looking at the phone smiling? This is ridiculous. We have to stop that illusion. We have to stop that now. So then, basically, going again, bouncing around. What I'm trying to say is that we should translate and don't replicate. And that goes from social is social media, tech is tech, images are images, and then things are how they are. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be bending those limits and then try to look a bit further and then see how they move around. But also, I'm saying that we should look at those things and then try to translate instead of replicate directly. Going back to the books, you know, let me just get the numbers because this is really stupid. The movie went up in, I don't have it. Do you know, this is what happened with the cards. I don't know why I did the cards. Bad UX, good one. So, you know, the movie went up in 2009 and the book was in 2004. Why are you giving me that cover of the book? Why is that? I don't understand. What are you trying? You're trying to sell it to me? Yes. but you're selling because the movie was selling very well. So this is really stupid. I don't want to get that book, and I don't want to get this magazine either. I've got a magazine and I go to issue, and this is what I'm talking when I'm saying about certain practices that they're just trying to replicate what's happening in the real world into the digital world. It's a magazine. It's not gonna. It doesn't look like a magazine. Come on, guys. You think that because you've got those two arrows and you flip around, it looks like a magazine? Lately, they actually removed that little shadow that they have in the middle at the beginning, but it's just trying to be a bit more tech. I don't know what they're trying to do here. I'm saying that maybe we should rethink how we present digital, or how we present content digital. How we, in this case, is a catalog from Frances Jane Dudlov, a friend of mine, that she's trying just to work in digital all the time. Obviously, we have text, and obviously she has to talk about what happens in the exhibition. But at least she's not trying to get this pagination in place, although it looks like a magazine, but it's not. But equally, UX is not a tech term, because we can also think in the other way around and then try to get to the magazines and books. Again, just not doing the things for the sake of doing things. You know, we've got a magazine, we've got a printed book, we've got a catalog from an exhibition. This is an image from an art show a couple of months ago. And we could do either put a collection of images, like pictures and frames and artworks here and there. But the show happens already. It's like, why are you going to have a printed material that replicate what actually happens already? You know, let's try to make something different. You know, let's try to translate that experience that we had on the show into publication, and then try to kind of blow those boundaries. Basically, what I'm saying again is that we should maybe try to think digital and digital products in a way that we could expand again what we do in our real lives. And these guys, Memetro, I don't know if any of you have heard about these guys. When the whole big crisis in Spain happens a few years ago, in Barcelona, these guys declared that was this syndrome that they suddenly have a little bit of lost memory, and they couldn't remember if they took the tickets in the train. You know, it's like, have I actually passed my ticket when I go into the tube? So then that syndrome, where obviously, you know, you just need to share that syndrome with the rest of the people, right? It's like, well, actually, all those timings and all those things are basically related to where the security guards were checking those tickets, because you know you've got an issue. You know, you don't remember if you checked it, you haven't checked. We have to try to find a solution in order to get a community in place that could help us, because the police is going to kick us out, and it's an actual issue. And then going back to this again, this is a bit more explanatory of what my teacher in my first year of uni told me about Euclidean and non-Euclidean geometry. Is basically, we can get the things here, and they're nice and they're neat. You know, this is design, it's neat. It's not that neat though, because it's not exactly parallel. It's not like a bit more space down than back, but I'll make it a bit quick. But then actually there could be that as well. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, we've got parallel lines that we expand and they bend and they move, and they can tell us more than what we actually think they could tell us. It's going much further from what we think we do. Another bit I want to talk about is, very quickly, is about this Instagram. I love when people try to match the colors. It's really awesome. You know, you go in the streets and people is painting on top of the paint with a similar color because someone had put a graffiti on it. I've even saw, you know, like the whole lettering with a different color. This is amazing. This is crazy stuff. They are trying really hard. Don't laugh about these guys, because you know they're trying to keep our streets clean and in the really top, in the really nice like tones of colors and all the stuff. Thank you. Actually.
So we've got a couple of minutes if anyone wants to ask
Nice.
any questions before we head off to the pub.
Probably all of the questions. But I mean, I hope nothing make any sense, because that's what I'm trying to say. I just try to kind of get that cloud of ideas.
When I hear designers who work on digital.
Would you mind just speaking it, because we're recording the audio for the video?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it won't come out on these speakers, it's just for the recording. So.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask if I hear designers who are, have art background and very strongly for arts, and then they start to realize, then there are measurements coming in, and some designs are thrown away because they're not so nice, but the artist thinks that is the more beautiful one. So how do you resolve that, and how do you?
Do you mean working designers and developers together?
Yeah, it's the fact that the artist has an idea what is the most beautiful, but the general public might have a different idea, so how do you resolve that? Yeah.
Well, I guess that the question here is in between the use of design and the use of the artist. So I've got that background, but I've got a very clear idea that art is normally about expressing yourself and getting an idea across. It's your idea that you want to share to the people. But then design is a bit more complex. In design, you are trying to not accommodate, but you're trying to get a service to someone else, either your client or the users that they're going. So when that conversation is happening between me with the hat of designer and my colleague, with the hat of artist, I would normally go for the artist one, because ultimately what they want is to share that idea in the best way that they could share their ideas. That's what happened with the catalogs, and that's what happened with different books. It's more about how can we enhance your idea as an artist to get like a better outcome in a way, but not necessarily thinking about the users, which is, I guess, the big difference between art and design. Cool. Any other questions? There's a lot of books here. There's 2 or 3. The ones that are repeated, you can get one, but not the others because they're really nice and they're mine.
Just so you know.
But you can touch them and then try to get to touch them. That's a very important thing. And then it's when we talk about actually when I'm talking with artists, that's one of the first things that they ask you, ask them when we're working, especially with publications, like how you want the people to read this book. Let's try to get that in the right place. So it's about how can they translate that, not send the message and that.
A lot of your stuff, you talk about translation and you talk about the repeat of experience.
Yeah.
Right. And when technology comes in, it tends to kill something, typically, as we've learned, and maybe people as well, and destroys experience. Right. So, you used to go and you used to get your ticket from the guy in the ticket office, and he used to know you knew him.
Yeah.
Now it's just something happens over the internet, it appears on your tablet or your phone, and you go through. So experiences are being removed from people's lives. So I'm curious to know, when you do your work, you talk about experience and translation of experience. In my experience, technology just removes them or obliterates them. So where's the line?
What do you mean that deliberates them?
Obliterates them, removes them entirely.
All right. Well, we had we all experienced this when the e-books came on board. The death of publication. The death of the publishing thing happens. Not really. You just kill those books that you don't really like. So I believe that with that situation, you will get better books, a bit more like interesting books that give you. This thing that you give, those givens that you have in experience. So you have a given of, I'm going to go to my ticket shop, to the tube, and I'm going to talk to that person, which are normally not very friendly, if I'm honest, because they've been there for a very long time. Fair enough. But I'm not saying that we're going to remove entirely all the experience. We're just going to basically take the experience that we don't, or we could maybe make better, and then we're going to get new experiences in the life. That's how I see, and obviously that's my vision. That's how I'm trying to kind of envision those experiences. I just feel that if something could be taken over from another, for technology or for any other thing, it could be taken over. But then if we are really interested in making those connections, we will make those connections. So I'm still saying hi to I've got my commuting walk from my house to my studio. I just sometimes even buy a coffee just to say hi, to my, to the guy that's there. It's just nice and it's chatty. It's like, just.
How long have you been in London?
Well, it's been about like 7 years. But I'm from a very small city as well, so I'm kind of. Yeah. Well, no, that's the thing. We are the ones that control those experiences really. that also happens. Technology sometimes, and this is nothing to do with technology. When someone goes next to you and they look at the phone, this is the people. That is the people just looking at the phones because they don't have anything in their phone. They just don't want to say hi to you, and that is something that technology, I don't think is doing any bad on that, if I'm honest. I guess.
That's fine. Thanks, Rafa.
Answer?
Yeah, good answer. Thank you.
Cheers.
All right, thanks again.
Thank you. Third round. Yes.